Bante la ka me kijing kelas niu kamariang ni ka climate change ka sorkar Meghalaya ka depan kre bantawi ka climate change secretariat baniadan bentalang bon kitanat apo ka we ka shatri ya ka nila ang chief secretary ka jala uba Donald Phillips walang haba kran benta sngi ka jinya thir halor ka carbon credit ne ka bor ka ba ailat ya ka company ban penmi ya ka le air sniu haka ba ki hab ban kiu shaki ba thong ding ki ban kijet ya ka le air sniu haba kran haka ni ka sngi chief secretary ulaong ba ka sorkar jala ka depan kre bantaw ya ka climate change secretariat bat shen kan satri kamno haka jingmut ka bas nguthu bha ka carbon credit kalong thong ding khambun yo ru ka pisa khambun ulaong kumba lai hajar ngut kinongrap bat 100,000 hektar ka jaka an sa penjerngam dak ba thong ding haka jala bat nakani en yo jingmantoi na ka carbon credit ka dor ka carbon unit ka shong dor khat 100 unit u chief secretary ulaong ba ka badan kam kalong banedan benta kishnong ki paj ba ban thong ding ulaong ru ba khnang ban penslur ya ka forest certification carbon credit ka sorkar India ka labu thong R.Sunfly million ton ban bat ya ka air snew ne carbon sink dak ba thung ding R.1 million hectar hakari ban apdeng kiri G20 datang ka India ka bakut jengmut ban telakam ya ka climate change ne ka jingkala snew ka mariang lingba ka jingyate kat kum ka Paris agreement ka forest and environment department ka sorkar Meghalaya ringkat ka network for certification and conservation of forests New Delhi kalau penlong yang kini kejinya thir halor ke forest certification buat carbon credit hasil van house lawa la chumia shillong hakani kejinya thir ke donru kejing ai jing hikai halor ke carbon credit buat ke forest certification hak arpusan buat arpu hendu tarik menta ubnai
bring in a lot of benefits not only to the state but especially in our state to the communities. We are aware of the importance of forests both internationally as well as at the national level and at local level. But if you look at the history of forest management in the country, you see that there have been different phases right after independence. First, when we gained independence in 1947, forest was totally an open field in which the states had majority of the responsibilities. And it was a state subject, in fact, and the states had a full liberty of going for whatever way they find it beneficial. 76, perhaps with the 42nd Amendment of the Constitution, in which forest was shifted from the state list to the concurrent list. I think so that was a major breakthrough because that shows that, from the union government side, from the government of India, they want to have a stake in the management of forests and not leave it totally to the states. And they've noticed that there have been rampant afforestation, degradation of the forest cover. Therefore, it was imperative at a point of time for the government of India to step in. And that was perhaps the first step, and it was the first major paradigm shift as far as forest management is concerned, 1976. Then, of course, came the Forest Conservation Act in 1980, which mandates permission of Government of India to deforest any forested area, and that was a very big game changer too, 1980. So these two steps taken by the Government of India were major steps to ensure the protection of forest at all levels. Then, of course, we are all aware of the TN Godawaram case of 1996. I think it was on 12th December 1996. Neo Civil in Mailang, which was an area in which all the big guns of the civil subdivision at the point of time were engaged in forest and timber activities. And suddenly there was a ban as per the mandate given by the Supreme Court. And we had a very tough time in the administration because they saying that we're not going to listen to anyone, we're not going to listen to the Supreme Court, to the government of Meghalaya. A lot of discussions had taken place at that point of time. And I remember taking a delegation of these timber contractors to places like Omsning and Kudamkulai to show them the benefits of, poultry farming, to show them the benefits of, rearing cattle and all that. We came back, they all had a good laugh. There was no return on investment in all this, return on investment in forest and all that. But eventually better sense prevailed and people took to this transition with all the working plans, with all the management of forests through various working plans that was mandated by the Supreme Court order. So, as you can see, the livelihood of quite a huge chunk of the population depended on timber, on these forest products, minor forest products, and it has always been a challenge as far as conservation is concerned. Now, suddenly, if we are sitting here today talking about forest certification and carbon credit, it's a total paradigm shift again, because now we are not talking about empowering the community through cutting of forests, but empowering the community through growing forests. That is through afforestation efforts. So it's totally a different ball game altogether. In fact, just about I think a week back, as mentioned by our Commission Secretary, we had a number of meetings of the externally aided projects in our state. We have quite a number of them. In fact, many of them relate to forest activities and afforestation. One of the major one is MegLife, and one is CLAM. And in these projects, so a lot of initiatives have been taken for afforestation. I'll come to that later. But let's start first with the international, at the international level, what is happening to encourage all this forest certification, carbon credits, and all that. The government of India has already made a commitment. I mean, the resource person will know better. They made a commitment of additional carbon sink of 2.5 to 3 billion tons of CO2, which basically means they have committed an additional forest cover of more than 26 million hectares. So that is the commitment made by the government of India. And among the G20 countries, only the government of India so far has met this initial target of what was committed at the Paris Agreement on climate change. So you can see that the commitment made by the government of India is also there, and it has percolated down right up to the state level. In fact, in our state, the Chief Minister is very, very committed towards this cause, and we are the first state to envisage setting up a separate secretariat for climate change. He was talking about walking 10 kilometers. We'll have to do more than that, in fact, in the future. Because this climate change secretariat, what is envisaged is that not only Forest Department will be in charge or will be involved in this, it will be multi-sectoral. It will be the Public Health Engineering Department for water supply, it will be agriculture, it will be horticulture, it will be soil and water conservation, and Forest Department. All these departments will have to come together under one umbrella, under this secretariat, for climate change and sustainability issues. We have made very clear-cut definition of the goals that we want to achieve as per the SDG, and I'm sure that this will come into fruition very soon. In fact, things have already started moving in the right direction, and this secretariat will be functional very soon. Our state is a state, as mentioned before, which is full of community forests, full of sacred groves. It is also a challenge at the same time. We have not done any cadastral survey in the state. So it's a challenge. When you're talking about carbon credit and forest certification, it will be a challenge because the land ownership is a little complicated over here. You don't have proper records. So therefore, I'm very happy to see that forest officials from district councils are also here, because they are the people who will be looking at a huge chunk of forest cover that we're talking about. Because state government will be looking after reserve forests, but most of the community forests and private forests are under the ambit of the district council. So those officers are also here, so they can invite all of them. So coming back to international commitment made by the government of India, in the state, apart from the secretary that we're talking about, we are talking about the various EAPs, the externally aided projects in which we have made commitment towards forest certification and carbon credit. We have already done, this is not a plan, already done about 6,000 hectares of forest coverage, that is additional forest afforestation, and involving more than 3,000 forests, because these are small marginal farmers at the last mile who are involved. And we are hoping that through this MegLife project, through CLAM project, these two externally aided projects, we will be able to reap the benefit of carbon credits. Now, for those who are not understanding what is carbon credit, it's basically what we are talking about. You do the afforestation for a certain quantum of land, certain number of trees, and they are measured and quantified in terms of carbon units. And I think so the price of one carbon unit today is about 16 rupees, 15 rupees, something like that. And it had peaked about 10 months back to about 6 to 7 rupees per unit. So instead of cutting the trees and selling it to the market, it's better to plant the trees and get money through carbon credits. That is the whole game, in fact. Plant more trees, get more money. And who's paying for this? Agencies from abroad, big companies from abroad who have been indulging in all these pollution activities. It's a very, very simple math. It's a give and take, polluter pays principle. You can say that as simple as that. So we are hoping that through this MechLife and through CLAM projects, these farmers, the stakeholders in the last mile, the communities will get this direct benefit. We are talking about, we have already done about 6,000 hectares and more than 3,000 forests, and we have tied up with Rabobank. But there's a caveat over here. I was talking to them in the meeting also. It's not a simple exercise. It's very complicated. In fact, one of the key speakers, a resource person, was mentioning about the various layers of certification and acceptance and approvals and all that. I'm afraid it may not be as simple as just claiming this money. In fact, it may take a little time. I don't know whether Goenka, who's involved in this process, has gone through this process properly and conducted proper due diligence or not, but he should be present in this workshop to ensure that these farmers who have taken the efforts for 3,000 additional forest and 6,000 hectares get the benefit. That is very, very important. And then we have this payment for ecosystem also in one of the externally aided projects, which is an initiative again of the state government in which the people who are involving in afforestation activities and all activities are paid a certain amount of money so that they feel encouraged and feel empowered that the government is taking care of them. So these are the various steps that is being taken by the state government, and I'm sure that all those who are still not initiated into this process, in the next 2 days, you are very lucky because this is the end thing. If you look at the various courses abroad, most of the certifications in top level universities are on this topic, that is on what we call as carbon financing. There's nobody who's an expert here in Shillong on carbon financing. In fact, to tell you personally, I was just telling one of my sons who's quite well qualified to go for this, one of these certificate courses, because I feel that it will be quite beneficial. So all those who are having relatives or close near and dear ones who are well qualified and all that, carbon financing is one area in which you can really explore, and there is a lot of potential in this field. Just one more small aside, there is a very famous company who have landed and they are into this process of afforestation. I have a suspicion that the state government has not been consulted. This company has not come and met the forest officials, and this company is one of those companies that are involved in the vaccination process. I'm sure you know which company I'm talking about. And they are only in Shillong. They've already set up an office here in Shillong also, and there's a commitment of more than 400 crores of investment here in the state. So I'm not so sure whether they have communicated with the forest department or not, but I'm sure they must have communicated with the district council because they are interested to basically go for afforestation in private land and community land and owned by the communities, land owned by the communities. So they must have consulted district council. I have only one small issue to raise regarding that. They are coming here for afforestation, well and good. They'll be claiming carbon credits, I'm sure, for that. There has to be a give and take. There has to be some benefits for them. I want that whatever they're doing from district council side, just be a little careful. Whatever benefit they're getting should be shared with the community. This is very, very important. It's not that they're doing the afforestation, they run away with all whatever they get from the carbon credits. Share of the pie should also be there with the communities who are giving the land. And we have to be very careful if we are inking any agreement in the near future. There has to be a process of agreements with the communities, and some agency will have to come forward. Most probably will be district councils, the autonomous district council both in Khasi as well as Jantia, and also me perhaps in Gao Hills. So these are the things that are happening. People are coming. More and more companies are looking. In fact, there's an Israeli company also looking at this. They are planning to come to Meghalaya for the same purpose, and again with an eye on carbon credit. So all in all,